Welcome back to another episode of Adeptus Paternus. I have with me my friends Arthur and Marcus, and today we're going to talk about elves because with the Eldar Codex out, that's what the three of us have been super excited about. How you two doing?
I'm doing
Um,
good. Been enjoying the squishy fast boys quite a bit.
yeah, I'm doing good. I've been kind of hectically trying to paint everything I haven't painted because I don't know what I want to use, but I also want to use everything.
Yeah, I feel both of you. Arthur, when I saw that you had built Azerman within 15 minutes of like buying him, I was pretty impressed.
I also already finished painting Lycus.
That yeah, I am not as fast as you. I'm not as fast as either of you. I know Marcus, you have an intention to take a list to a GT uh, in a couple weeks. I didn't want to put that
Yeah.
on myself.
Nothing is painted yet.
So
Do you need
literally,
any help?
literally nothing.
I mean, I started putting the first paint on it today.
Wow, I wasn't sure if
Wow.
maybe you had like some of it ready already, but well, good luck.
No.
Good luck.
Oof.
All right, well
I,
let's start talking though about today's topic, which is Warhost, the kind of updated version of the index, but still like a pretty solid set of rules. Um, First, the detachment rule is you get one extra battle focus token per round, plus 1 inch to swift as the wind, and then plus 1 inch to any d6 agile maneuver rolls. Nice set of buffs right there. The enhancements, the Phoenix Gem for 35 points, you stand back up on a 2-up. Timeless Strategist, 15 points, is you get an extra battle focus token. The Gift of Foresight, 15 points, you get a reroll CP for -1 CP. Psychic Destroyer, 30 points, +1 damage on ranged Psychic. The strats are -1 CP, or 1 CP, -1 to hit infantry except wraiths. 1 CP get back in a transport, 1 CP fallback shoot and charge, 1 CP sustained in shooting or 5-up crits if you already have sustained, 1 CP fire and fade except wraiths. I didn't put that in there, but it is except wraiths. Um, and it's also like the uh, it's the good fire and fade again, not the D6. Um, and then 1 CP put in infantry back in
it is the
reserves.
D6.
Oh, it is the
It,
D6. Darn.
D6
it's
plus 1.
D6 plus
D6
1.
plus one. Okay, yeah, I remember
So you
now.
can like guarantee you get across the wall with like small bases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Um.
important note for the strats. There are two strats to hop back in
Yeah.
transports with
Yep.
your infantry.
Yep. Yeah, because I mean, even if you fire and fade zero point 0.1 inches, if you're already within 3 of a transport, that qualifies. And I think
Exactly.
that's really what matters. And that's why I forgot what it was exactly, because the only times I've ever used it are to get back in a transport. So,
Yeah. Me too.
and then finally, for 1 CP, you can put an infantry unit back in reserves if it's wholly within 9 inches of a board edge. So, a lot of good movement control strats here. And that's kind of basically the whole thing about Warhost is just movement.
Consistency, like I was telling you guys earlier, I think. The movement is consistent. For everyone else, it's a bit more of a gamble, but here I think it's much more consistent.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, it doesn't do much for damage, but it does a huge amount for just
Speeding.
being as Eldar as possible.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, it's
Yeah.
not like there's nothing that boosts damage. I mean, you do have the sustained or the 5-up crits if you already have sustained, and that's certainly. I mean, it's not aspect hosts. You can get sustained and lethals, but you have a lot of ways to flip to sixes, and so that sustained can help.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
if you're
it's
taking
for sure good.
Azerman, yeah, if you take Azerman, you essentially have 3 units hopping back into transports in one turn.
Yeah, but that does lead to the main issue, which is holding primary. I mean, other people have talked about it. This is nothing new to anybody who has any familiarity with this detachment or aspect host, which is if you hop back into your transport every time hiding behind a wall, chances are um, you're not on a point, or if you are, you only have 2 OC on the point because Wave Serpents only have 2 OC.
Yeah. I mean, Eldar in general aren't the best at primary, but I feel that Warhost is the one that suffers it the most.
Unless you're Yanari.
Unless
Yeah,
you're
unless
Inari, but that's a conversation for another day.
yeah, I know. I
See, run Falcon so you have OC3.
Oh god.
oh yeah, yeah, because and pray that the Falcons survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with the Warhost, I know it's technically the index, but it is a very much a spiritual successor because
Yes,
there's almost nothing here except for names.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Fire and Fade is the closest. And there's the fallback, shoot and
And the
charge, and the -1 to hit. Those are the three that are kind of the same.
well, and the Phoenix
Yeah.
gem,
And the Phoenix Gem.
Phoenix
which
Gem is so much worse now that
yeah,
there's no Way Leaper.
yeah,
Yes.
and it still costs the same. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
No. I got a little excited about it until I realized that you can't actually put it on on a lone op.
A lone op, no.
So I could see that going back down to something more reasonable, and then maybe you put it
Um,
on like the Autark that goes with Banshees or something, just to be annoying.
I don't think it's worth it.
If it's like
For
15
30.
points. No, I'm saying if
Oh,
it
if it
goes
went
down.
down.
If it went down, yeah, then I could see it being useful again, just not where it is now.
Or if it goes back down, put it on a Foot Warlock by himself. Have him just sitting on objective.
Yeah.
If he gets shot off, he
Yeah.
stands back up.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah, I mean that one would be annoying. Is it locked to any particular kind of character? I don't remember honestly.
A Suriani,
Young.
Okay.
nothing else.
Cool. So then I mean it's not locked. Yeah, then I could. So then I
It
guess
is locked.
okay,
It's locked
sure.
because you can't put it on Quinns. Because if not, you could run a Death Jester with a Phoenix Gem and it would actually be viable in Warhost.
Yeah, I mean I
Clowns
guess
aren't real.
technically you could put it on a Spirit Seer, but I mean I don't think that that's actually a great play per se. So
I don't see play for the gem right now.
no.
No.
I mean, and honestly, the only one that I sort of consistently hear people taking, and I know that both of you took, is the +1 battle token, which I think is not necessary. I don't think you have to, but I think it's good.
You don't
Yeah,
have
like a
to,
couple
but
versions of
it's
my list just didn't have it because it depends on points, and it's a nice way to fill it out, and you won't feel bad about it.
Yeah, no,
No.
it's certainly. I think it's priced correctly. I think it's a nice to have, just so that like on the rare occasion that you really needed 6. But I mean, for the most part, I've actually mostly been playing a different detachment, so I've only had 4, and I've never really had a time where I'm like, oh goodness, if I only had 1, 2 extra battle tokens, battle focus tokens, then I'd be set.
honestly, I think the best part of it is the fact that you can still get it even if the character's in a transport.
Yes, I
GW, more of these rules, please.
yeah, I have noticed that there is a trend with Eldar that like more and more things are happening, even if you're in a transport, and that's great. That is absolutely how it should be. It should, but they should all. I mean, they should just get rid of the if you're in a transport like you don't exist thing. For example, I think that being in a transport shouldn't make you immune to Shadow in the Warp, right? Like you should still have to like as soon as you get out, take a battle shock test.
Yeah, but then you run into some weird things. Like, for example, Drukari could Vect from inside a Raider, and that is horrible to think about.
I mean,
Yeah, the Vectora from a Tantalus, if that was
Oh,
still in the
okay,
game.
I'm not saying that everything. I'm not saying that everything should be able to do this. I just think that more things should.
Well, I'm saying everything should.
I do too, because I would love to reroll hits to hit and wound from a Raider.
Okay, I would certainly say that like auras should not happen from inside transports. But we're starting
yeah.
we're starting to digress. So we've all played some games with Warhost. I don't think that like any of us have really focused a ton of our efforts. It just seemed like a good place to start. And why don't we like go through the lists that you guys have put out, and then from there we can kind of discuss the rest of things. So First, we have Marcus's list, and there's going to be a little bit of a trend here, but we got Lycus as Warlord, Azerman, Autarch with a Reaper, and Glaive. So obviously the Reaper means that he's going with Dark Reapers. Timeless Strategist makes sense to have on him. It's the only place you're going to put it, but it's nice to have him dude on the backfield, so he'll actually stick around. Unit of 5 Void Reavers, 2 Wave Serpents, 10 Dark Reapers, the Exarch with the missile launcher, which makes sense. I think a lot of people were originally like, ooh, indirect, but realized that indirect sucks in this case. 10 Fire Dragons, Exarch with the fusion gun, 5 Dire Avengers, Exarch with the double guns, Falcon with Brightlands, Banshees, Exarch with Executioner, 2x5 Rangers, 2x3 Shroud Runners, 2 Vipers with Bright Lances, 2 Warwalkers with Bright Lances, and then the Warp Spiders, the Exarch with the Power Blade Array. So, Marcus, tell me what your thoughts are.
Following the brain dead combos from this detachment, there's 3 units that can bounce in and out of transports every turn. The Fire Dragons are the most conditional just because they're such short range, but they can still do it. But every turn you're gonna hopefully have 10 Dark Reapers and an Autarch bouncing out from behind a wall, blasting something and hopping back in the hidden Wave Serpent. And then Azerman's just gonna hop out of the Falcon, blast some stuff, hop back in. And then for his go turn where you pop his Super Saiyan mode, you can have the Falcon give him reroll wounds. So there's a lot of consistent damage you can do from behind a wall.
Yeah. I mean, this does seem like the kind of archetypal build that, I think that you're maximizing what Warhost does, and you're kind of hoping that you just don't have to worry about holding primary. You just kill before it becomes an issue.
Yeah, and you get enough trash that you can just do secondaries, and maybe you can have one stick around that's barely holding a point or behind a wall on a point, and then you're happy.
Yeah, I mean, and you certainly have the means to at least sort of consistently score 10s just because you have speed and screening to, even if you were only putting 1 or 2 OC on there, that you can still hold it because most other things aren't as fast as Eldar and aren't going to just be able to skip, hop, and jump, over to your expansion. Then you get unfortunate matchups World Eaters and
Custodes.
Because they're not super fast. World Eaters are super fast, and then Custodes is a different kind of unfortunate thing. But I was also thinking Blood Angels, right? Because they could just fly over your screens, and yeah. But I think
that's a bit of an issue sometimes.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, but one thing that I think all of us are taking is the Lycus as Warlord with the Warp Spiders.
We're not subtle with command insertion.
No, I mean it's it is the best option for command insertion, and I think that so long as we're still playing Pariah Nexus and secret missions are a thing, it is nice to have that as an option. And even if you don't need that per se, the great thing about it is okay, well maybe you have difficulty holding objectives, but you can also kind of guarantee in a lot of matchups oh, you left 10 cultists to hold your home, well they're gone, and you have to either come back and deal with it, or else I just hold your home now.
Yeah, the threat range, especially since you can throw a plus 3-inch move token on their flicker jump.
Yeah.
27-inch movement, and then you can shoot and charge after that is just insane.
And it's better melee than one might think without I didn't fully realize
attacks.
The 20 attacks with lethals on 5s actually, I mean even with the relatively low AP is
linked.
Right. It's still okay, if they put a bunch of Terminators on their home, then maybe this isn't going to happen. But at that point,
then they're putting a bunch
of Terminators on their home. So you're fine. Yeah.
Well, and also a good tech piece especially for last turn, is the webway tunnel. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I have to do something last turn, webway tunnel, because it's the last turn, so I can strategic reserves from their backline. And suddenly I've put fire dragons in your backline.
Yeah, I think that,
Not the best example with fire dragons, but you get the point.
well, I think that what ends up happening with that is like you're not planning around it, but
You're threatening with it.
Exactly.
and like it's also it could be very situational of like, okay, yeah, the transport's dead, and so therefore I don't know. I think Azerman is like a pretty good target for this because he can do the move shoot move, and so he comes in with outside 9, but then he can move 6, and so
He can't charge, but
he can't charge, but that might be enough to
to
steal an
like take a point.
objective or something like
Yeah.
that. Or maybe,
Or
yeah.
sorry, I was gonna say or, which is one tech I got to do was I had Eldrad with 2 warlocks, and it was the last turn, so I had already scored my points. I knew I was already going to score points for holding, or I think it didn't matter if I held home. But I picked them up on my opponent's turn, and then I suddenly had 2 flamers that are like strength 7 hitting units that weren't expecting to get hit by strength 7 flamers.
I, the,
It's
the other thing about this strat, which is actually nice, is that it does not specify that you have to come back immediately. So you can put stuff there and leave it there to threaten, for however long. So, I mean, if, for example, your Rangers, right? Like, honestly, a lot of their utility is just early, screening out scouts. If for some reason they manage to survive, and you could do this like turn 1 or turn 2, now you just have, a unit that can chill in strategic reserves for a long time, which means that they can't just be like, oh, okay, great, now it's turn 3. I don't have to worry about it. I can just move the rest of my army forward. And I mean, again, Rangers aren't necessarily doing a lot of damage per se, but it could be a very easy way to just get behind enemy lines or deploy locusts or whatever. Um, and
And it also lets you like ingress banshees at weird times. Like, yes, my turn for rapid ingress in a weird position,
yeah,
and I just snipe out a unit.
yeah.
or single warlocks that you pick up and put in behind enemy lines.
I mean, or it could be Lycus. You did the
Or
whole
Lycus,
you did the whole move to take their home, and maybe they weren't able to get back quite fast enough, but you know that they're going to get there eventually, and so rather than like just let her die, you could put them back in reserves.
I mean, and she does
Ring
have
around
deep
the
strike.
rosy.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think it's I think there's that part's solid. But Marcus, so what have you played this list into so far?
My second game after I was like kind of knowing what the rules were was against Tyranids with a big monster mash, and like the detachment, the mobility was fantastic. I was able to just bounce around, go really fast, and just failed to kill enough monsters because the detachment does have a bit of a lack of damage,
Yeah,
especially against 4-up invuls.
yeah, 4-up invuls are rough, and I mean that is one of the like downsides of having a single unit of 10 fire dragons. Like, yeah, you can do the fire and fade back in, or Skyborn Sanctuary or whatever, but you have to guess on splitting your fire. You can't just see how the first unit of 5 does and then how the second unit of 5 does.
Yeah.
You also
Yeah.
can't shoot, and then because if you have 2 units of 5, you could shoot one, be like, well, I left that thing on 2 wounds, and then second unit can grenades. But yeah,
I mean, there's play for running at MSU and running squads of 5, honestly.
yeah. Spoiler alert:
And
we'll get there with my list.
Yeah, but I like just being able to go 1 CP, this whole 10 man has sustained hits, which is quite nice when you can auto 6 2 of them, especially on the
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
Exarch's gun.
that is very true. I mean,
if you put it with an Autark, it's 0 CP.
that starts to feel a bit excessive to me personally. I mean, 10 with an autark is just like you're either gonna overkill or not kill. You're still just not gonna kill. I mean,
Yeah, I think
Very
it's a bit
likely.
too expensive for the suicide units.
yeah. And fire dragons generally still are suicide units.
Yeah, like the hop into transports keeps them like somewhat safe, and it is like nice to be able to. And yeah, it's more of a situational thing where you can do it
Yeah.
and keep them alive. But there's some situations where it's like there's two Dorns right there. They really need to go away. I'm throwing the Melta boys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's every reason to believe that even if you just split half and half, that you can kill both Dorns
Or kill none of them.
or kill none of them because they can blank damage. And right, I'm thinking aspect host. You can't ignore mods. Sad, sad,
But they
sad.
can't blank the Melta 3 part of it.
They
Yeah.
can't blank the Melta 3 part. You just have to, hope that you can reroll fives.
Yeah, I had
Um,
some of that issue in my games.
Yeah. Well,
It's always sad.
have you already made the comment on the recording about how you when you play this you wish you were playing aspect host?
Not yet.
Yeah. Sorry,
My
stole your thunder.
yeah.
damn.
I mean, I think it's accurate. They're pretty close to like the same detachment. Like a list in one you can port into the other without changing a model,
Yeah.
and it'll be a fully
Functional.
functional list that plays into that detachment very well, and vice versa, except the Avatar of Cain. But like,
Yeah.
Do you think he's worth running in
No.
aspect?
No.
No. No.
I
I want to. I really want to, but I don't think so.
So I think only if you're running a bunch of Wraith Lords, and we're bouncing around there. Maybe we'll save this one for when we
Yeah,
get
we'll
to
say
the
that for
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I totally agree, and I well we can do a sum up at the end, but why don't we move on to Arthur's list? So Lycus is Warlord, Azerban, you have Eldrad. And then two autarks, both with fusion and glaive. One has chimeless strategist, one has foresight because you have the points. Two wave serpents, the fire dragons, unit of 10, unit of 5 dire avengers, unit of 10 banshees, 2x5 striking scorpions, the exarchs with the blade, not the claw, the void weaver, one void weaver, two vipers with bright lances, two war walkers with bright lances, one
One
war.
War Walker.
Oh, one. Sorry, I copy pasted. Thank you for
Yeah, that's
reminding
fine.
me. So almost exactly the same, but not quite. Then the warp spiders, same with Exarch with power bladed bray, and then one unit of 5 Wraithguard with D scythes. So
Yes.
very similar, but a little different.
Yeah. So the thing with this list is I haven't been able to try this very much. This list is more the result of my other two games. And the result of those games showed me some big flaws with Warhost. The first one, which is the main reason I decided to put the Wraithguard in, is I have nothing in my previous list. I had nothing to be scary with to hold
Mm-hmm.
my natural expansion, because Wraithguard, if don't need a Spirit Seer, they don't need a Psyker because they have Flamers, and unless someone's going to force Battle Shock, I don't need it either. But it's a good unit to put on your natural expansion and to kind of give you a little bit of movement.
Yeah,
That's my main idea.
and it is a good Overwatch.
And it's a great Overwatch.
For people who are not familiar, D scythes are torrent now. It's basically you're gonna get 5d6 shots that are strength 7, AP -3, not ignores cover, and damage 1. But because it's strength 7, AP -3, that's scary into a lot of things.
And it's just scary enough that people take a second thought before just stepping onto your natural expansion,
Oh yeah, well
which happened to me.
they can't just assume that if they throw a bunch of like OC2 idiots at you that they're going to out OC you. There might be none left. I mean, I played a game the other night where I was running the Wraith Guard with these scythes, and I mean, I was playing Spirit Conclave, so I was running two of them. But out of six activations, only once did I fail to like just completely wipe a unit of 10 Skitari.
Oof.
I mean, it was like a bunch of regular shooting and then like two Overwatches, and like every time it's just like I roll average and he rolled average, and just the squad is wiped.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of armies that like the trash you want to be throwing away to like take objectives will just evaporate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why I thought, you know what, this is a great idea to hold that natural expansion because it's probably one of the biggest problems with Warhost. We said it at the beginning. It's not good at holding primary. Now, why the 10 Banshees? Cost efficiency, because I can put the Autarch with them. I can 0 CP stuff. The whole thing with the list, including Eldrad, is to make sure that I always have the CP and the battle maneuvers to do what I want, where I want, and not even give my opponent the luxury of saying, no, you can't.
Yeah. I mean, I guess even if they have Vect, you're still doing what you
Exactly.
want to do. I do wonder about 10 Banshees in Warhost. Like, aspect, I can see it. In Warhost, I feel like you might just whiff still. They just might not do enough damage because it's not
Or you
necessarily.
run into oh sorry.
Oh, well, because it's not the Banshees themselves that are doing the heavy lifting often. It's often like the Autarch and the Exarch with the damage 3 weapons that are actually killing stuff.
Yeah.
Or you run into bikers and you just cry.
Yeah, that's true. But again, they're mostly there to be a threat. I might change them up into 5 men, depending on if I'm playing that list more, although I don't think I'm going to be playing this list more, but that's another thing.
Yeah.
Um,
They do
but
help.
Warhost, yeah.
Sorry. No, they do help with. The thing is about a 10 man is you're going to be kind of tempted to push it in the middle, but I think like 5 man's the nice thing is you can just. That is another decent option for having like behind a wall near your natural expansion, and it's like, okay, well, you're gonna try and charge some dudes on here to auto see me. Well, here's here's a heroic.
With
My
fight
thought with the
first.
Yeah,
Warhost with the Banshees was to either do that on the home, like you said, on the natural expansion, or if I can, sneak them onto theirs to
yeah,
threaten theirs.
yeah. And I mean, if you have a unit like a 10 man and you are facing something like World Eaters, it does drive them absolutely crazy because you can just put it on the middle, and I mean, even if they do have shooting, like they're not going to shoot them. They might grenade them, which is annoying because you can't fade back with a grenade. But even then, you still have enough bodies. I like Banshees. I haven't actually tried 10 in Warhost, and so I wonder.
Yeah.
That part is theoretical that I'm not 100% sure with, but the theory is to use them to put pressure on a second point as necessary while having the Wraith Guard putting pressure on my natural expansion.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, and I don't know if you guys have realized it, is exactly how dangerous striking scorpions can be for an alpha strike.
Yeah, I mean, if you're faced with the right opponent,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like, for
they can kill
example, you
stuff.
guys mentioned guard with artillery. If I throw striking scorpions into their field, like if I go first, I just chuck those scorpions and I wreak havoc in their front lines.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely true. They don't kill Marines, which is super
No.
annoying. Uh,
Well, and that's kind of why I have the biting blade. The biting blade could scare Marines a little more.
Then
I
the
mean, you
power
can kill
fake-
fist.
scouts.
Yeah,
No, it is a strength 6 AP3. It'll scare Marines,
yeah,
regular Marines.
yeah. It's not the worst thing. I mean, like I like striking scorpions. I think 2x5 is like the max that I would ever
Yeah.
take. I do think that they're a worthy upgrade from Rangers because I hate the fact that like absolute garbage shooting like will, probably wipe Rangers.
Yeah. Also, the fact that they gave them stealth and scout
I know.
on top of their infiltrate was just
It is
gorgeous.
it is very nice. I mean, I've definitely appreciated that part of it.
Yeah, it's a wonderful combination of rules they have.
Yeah.
Like, and the crit fives on the charge,
Yeah.
I
No,
love them.
they're super good. And anytime that I can upgrade Rangers to strike, I do. I just find myself like not having the points for it.
Also, one last thing I want to point out that Marcus noticed as well is Void Weavers are amazing.
Void Weavers are, yes, we have discussed this on Discord, but we'll discuss it here for everybody else. I think Void Weavers are very nice for the points cost. I mean, Haywire is just a useful gun, and then
I'd run them Prismatic
really okay.
because Prismatic is wounding on a 3 on most things.
Mm-hmm.
Haywire is great if you have rerolls. Or you have the consistency like Scourge to throw a bajillion of
Yeah,
them.
I just hate facing. I mean, because the one thing again that we were already talking about with Fire Dragons is like anytime that you face a vehicle that has a 4-up invul, and you just are like, God, I wish I had dev wounds.
Yes, but then you run into things that don't care about dev wounds and have mortal
Sure,
wounds and you cry.
sure,
Yeah, like Tyrannid Monster Mash.
yeah,
Or Death Guard big blob monsters.
yeah, or
Yeah.
demon, or
Demons.
the mirror where someone is running a bunch of wraith lords who are
Oh
monsters
God,
and not vehicles.
yes. But that's the thing.
Or
So
reasons.
the Void
Yes,
Reaver's only 3 shots with the Haywire. The Prismatic is only 2. But if you're not re-rolling and you're hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s, most times you're getting more damage through with the Prismatic than you are
yeah,
with the Haywire.
And the flat 4 damage is really nice into some stuff.
Exactly.
It's
that's
just like
true.
one Nundum per failed save.
Yeah,
If you could give them reliable rerolls, I'd say run Haywire. For example, I would run Haywire in Reaper's Wager
mm-hmm.
because you can give them reroll once
Yeah.
to hit and wound.
Yeah. But I mean, more importantly, it has its pseudo lone op and a 4-up invul, and
Yeah.
just anything that has more than a couple wounds and a 4-up invul sometimes just does not die, and that
And stealth.
and stealth. So
And stealth. No, wait, does it have stealth?
Yep. The Star Weaver doesn't, but the Void Weaver does.
Have
Yeah.
I been messing myself up all this time?
that explains every loss you've ever had.
Of course.
Yep,
Let
clearly.
me clearly what?
Well, you look it up while we move on.
Well, okay.
The only
Let me
reason
look
for
this.
any loss. Didn't know the stealth.
Yep. All right. So my list again, Lycus as Warlord. I have an Autarch with a Reaper Englaive and then an Autarch with Fusion Englaive, no enhancements. One Spirit Seer. You'll see where this is going. A unit of Storm Guardians, 3 Wave Serpents, a unit of Dark Reapers, Exarch with the missile launcher, and then 3x5 Fire Dragons.
Oh crap, you're right.
Yep, he was right. The Exarch with the fusion gun, 1 unit of 5 Banshees, Exarch with the Executioner, unit of 5 Rangers, unit of Shroud Runners, Warp Spiders, and then 3 Wraith Lords with Bright Lances and Flamers. And one thing that we didn't discuss also earlier is Dark Reapers with the missile launcher is... Or no, we did. So whatever.
You did?
Yeah.
We didn't discuss much about them.
Okay, Dark Reapers, you should take the Exarch with the missile launcher because he hits on 2s. Simple as that.
Yeah.
It's D6 damage instead of 3 damage, but he hits on 2s. And the blast version of it is actually better than the Reaper launcher, like, getting 2 shots instead of, D6.
Oh, yeah. The multi-shot on the regular Reaper launchers is just terrible.
Yeah. So just take the missile launcher. It is actually the best Exarch gun. You may as well. So, yeah, I have tried the unit of 10 Fire Dragons and the unit of 5, and I've basically just come to the conclusion that it's not really worth worrying about getting them back in. It's not really worth worrying about everything. Getting the extra Exarch gun is where it's at. and being able to choose, like, to have more information before the further activations is great. And I thought for a long time that Wave Serpents were too big to take more than 2, but I have been running 3 and really liking it. I mean, they go fast enough. You can just have one, deep in your back line that's just waiting for them to come up. You're not alpha striking it, and you can absolutely, get the range on it to have dudes hop out and shoot. You're putting fire dragons in that. You're not putting any melee in there, so you're not trying to stage so that you can charge out of it. And I just like the mobility of having the 3 transports, because you can get anywhere that you want with a lot of stuff, and that's great.
Oh yeah,
get
triple
it.
transports is amazing. I was running that in my list, but with a Falcon for one of them.
I was
Yeah.
running double because I feel triple. That's 345 points in transports.
That don't die like as quickly as anybody expects.
That's true.
And I mean,
That's
Yeah,
true.
like-
They don't die.
it's a force multiplier, because I mean, you can. The thing is, like, if you're like so I have one unit that has the Dark Reapers in the back, and generally speaking, if you have a gun line, that has decent range, none of that stuff outside of things like Star Shatter, where you can like auto 6 advance through a wall at Doomsday Arc, you're not really like repositioning your gun line on the fly. Whereas if you're fire and fading in and out of the Wave Serpent, you can get those Dark Reapers like to a completely different spot the next turn without any issue. So that's one. And then another is for the 10 fire dragons. And then the third one, just you have the Storm Guardians. So you start the Spirit Seer in it, just because you have to have something in there. And then the Storm Guardians are sticking your home, and then they swap places, and now you can dump the Storm Guardians out further down the board and sticky something else.
Yeah,
I
Storm
see that.
Guardians. Every single list I write, it's like I want Storm Guardians.
I can't
'Cause
find the points for them.
Yeah, and it's like, but I could have more trash.
Yeah,
I could take Storm Guardians, or I could take Dark Reapers.
but the thing is, at a certain point, so I mean, I've had them like hold my home against Angron, coming back to life, deep striking, and like rapid ingressing, and then like charging them, and they didn't die, and they like 4 of them survived. Therefore, I still out OC'd him just because they have a 5-up invul. I mean, that in and of itself is a huge, like reason to take them. I mean, that was a huge swing. Like, it saved the game for me, because, like I was able to then bring, fire dragons back to bear on him, and he died. So
I don't disagree with you. Like Marcus says, I have a hard time finding what to take out to put them in.
Yeah, like I love them as a unit. I made sure to get some. It's just like
I need to get
it's
some.
100 points that could be like
yeah,
there's more Vipers.
Yeah, more Vipers.
The thing is,
Or another Warwalker.
I don't know. I don't love combos. I can see Vipers. I don't love Warwalkers, because they die really easily. Back when they had a 4-up invul, I thought they were great. Now with a 5-up invul, not so great. They are less reliable than a Wraith Lord. They die, and like I don't really care. I don't care about the buff. I genuinely don't care about the buff. It doesn't come into play nearly as often. Shroud Runners get you basically the same outcome. So
The Shroud Runners don't help out Dark Reapers though.
they don't help out Dark Reapers, but that's okay. Generally, the Dark Reapers are not going into. I mean, they're going into like elite infantry far more than they are tanks. I feel like 15 fire dragons with 3 of the melt to 6 guns tend to take care of my problem on the the heavies. And
You would
then,
think so, but
well,
yeah,
I say 10-2. 10-2.
yeah, because then you end up leaving a Telemon alive with 1 wound, and you cry.
Yeah, I mean, but again, that's the advantage of having two, because if like I could grenades one, and that's really nice. It just I've had that come up a bunch of times where the only thing that would be able to see, the thing that was left on like 2 wounds is the other unit of fire dragons that got out of the transport. And I don't want to. What am I going to do? Put one gun in? It's probably not enough. 2 guns in? That might be way overkill. Grenades are probably gonna do it though, and that's why I like that. And then the Wraith Lords are just, it's 6 more Bright Lances. I love the fact that you can get the rerolls where you need them. You're facing World Eaters, give it infantry, and then the Bright Lances just are taken out 8-bound, fairly regularly. Or you're facing Lehman Rush, obviously go with vehicles, and you're hitting and wounding on 3s, re-rolling 1s. That starts to make your Bright Lances like kind of reliable.
That's true.
And
I think my liking of the Warwalker is probably just vestigial from the index.
yeah,
That I just kind of want to make it work, because I do like the bonus to AP. It is fun, but I don't know if it's totally necessary, but it is fun, especially at Scout 7.
I really like him in Windrider Host just because
Yeah.
that detachment lets you tailor your damage on the fly, and it's so fun.
Yeah, I can see it in Windrider. I can see it, obviously in the Guardian detachment where they get, +1 to hit. That helps a lot. But just, okay, yeah, the Wraith Lords are more expensive, but they're way more durable. I mean, just 2-up armor goes a long way. There's some matchups where it's sad. I mean, if you're facing Tau and it's AP -4, ignores cover, you're just like, well, they're dead. But
the Scout 9 is very nice, though.
True, it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Wraith Lords, they move 8. They're not super slow. They also do have melee. Like, it's not. It's strength 10 on the strike, so it's not like the thing that's going to be killing Angron or a Dorn or whatever. But it'll definitely take care of plenty of other things. And the sweep is 8 attacks. That they're damage 2 each. It's pretty good, and you get the flamers on them too. I mean, so you do have even more ways to clear chaff. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe 3 Wraith Lords is unnecessary here, but I definitely think 2 is really nice, because it does also solve the issue of, okay, well, put 2 on a flank, and that'll hold it, because they would then have to commit like real resources to taking them out, and most people just aren't going to bother. So
yeah. Most times it does take a dedicated effort to take them out.
Oh yeah, you're not killing them with AP 0 or AP 1. You have to do something. And they're monsters, so anti-vehicle doesn't work against them. And
they're like 140 points. Like for their cost, they are fantastic.
Yeah,
they are very points efficient. I do agree with that 100%.
And they look cool.
If they
look awesome.
If they were more expensive, my tune would be completely different. But yeah, and then they also, one of them gets sustained from the Spirit Seer. You can heal them back a bit, so if like they do a little bit of chip damage, that's not going to be enough. They get decent leadership. They either become leadership 6 with the Spirit Seer, so like they're not necessarily, and they're OC4, so like it. I like them. I think they're great, and they do look cool. They're really hard to.
I'm just kind of sad that they don't get like anything from the detachment.
They don't.
And they don't even have battle focus.
They don't have battle focus. And so, like, it's, with the Spirit Conclave, you can do more. You can push them up more, and they'll more reliably kill stuff because you can give them, like, dev wounds and whatnot. But, for having something that can be on a flank and hold your objective, and then also be providing, like, long-range fire support, because you're getting 6 Bright Lance shots with the reroll 1s to hit and wound, which is very great.
Like
Uh,
they're big, they're consistent bricks, but I want my shenanigans.
there's still so many shenanigans that you can get out of this. I mean,
Well, I have shenanigans that we can talk about them in other lists that are in Spirit Conclave, but there's still ways to shenanigans with them,
yeah. I mean,
for sure.
like I think that they're also a very reasonable, rapid ingress heroic intervention possibility. It depends on what's gonna. But for example, like anything that's like banshees are not gonna kill a wraith lord. They're not gonna do anything to a wraith lord. I mean, it's T10 with a 2-up armor save. They're just so there's a lot of situations where it gives you those other options which you just don't have elsewhere in the list.
I definitely like it. It adds some useful stuff.
And the Spirit Seer becomes a lone op. If he's within 3 of them, which is not insignificant. I mean, you could have one of them hiding behind a wall. Like, let's say you're facing a gun line. You have one of them hiding behind a wall, and the Spirit Seer is on the other side on the objective, and it's like, well, he's a lone op. What are you going to do about it?
No.
Yeah. An earlier version of my list had a death jester to try and hold points, and then I ran into just lists that ran at me. I was like, well,
Yeah. Yeah. And
When you run into, yeah.
I mean, look, there are things that's just going to be a challenge for pretty much every Eldar list except for maybe like Spirit Conclave. But even Inari doesn't like it when you just run at them. So
No.
Windrider Host doesn't mind most of
no,
the time
I
because
guess
that
when
detachment does damage.
it does damage and it has uppy downy, and
Yeah.
you just. I mean, hey, I played Hypercrypt for a year. I know all about just. You think you can
Yeah,
run all the way across the board? Because I don't care. I'll start all the way back, and then I'll be wherever I want after that.
How many times can you run across the board? That's the question.
Exactly. The funny thing is, in the mirror match, unlimited numbers of times. You just get back in your wave serpent and go right across back the board.
There's a lot of speed shenanigans in all of them.
Yes, there is. So
Yeah, this is the fastest codex, and I love it.
Yeah.
I
I've heard some people try to ask me like, well, maybe this is faster, and I'm like, no, you are nowhere near as fast. Nothing is this fast.
Yeah.
In Windrider Host, you can go over 50 inches with a unit of Shining Spears.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to.
I mean, why would you? But also, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, we can get into that when we talk about Windrider.
Yeah.
But I think with the closing thoughts, we should probably discuss the comparison, with Aspect Host because they are, sort of fraternal twins.
Okay.
They even share Skyborn Sanctuary.
Yeah, they even
word for word. Same name.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's what I told you guys at the beginning. For me, they're both the most consistent detachments, but like Marcus said, Aspect is more consistent in damage. Warhost is more consistent with the battle maneuvers, with the agile maneuvers. That's the main difference for me. So it's basically, what do you want? More consistent movement or more consistent damage?
Yeah. I keep going back and forth on it, but I am more and more coming down on the side of I actually do think that Aspect Host is probably better on balance simply because just army rule, you have all the mobility that you need if you can play the game correctly. Like, Warhost gives you more than you need so you can play the game sloppy and still have mobility. But yeah, they're just being able, like, there's certain, so fire dragons are good in every detachment. Every detachment should have fire dragons. But all the other things, I mean, like, Dark Reapers and Banshees just become way better, you know. And I like the fact that it does cover that aspect, and that
That
you
aspect.
oh god, the dad jokes. But like
Yeah.
literally, I could take this exact same list and maybe just like change, give myself. I do think the enhancements are worth. Some of them are worth taking in aspect, and like that's basically it. I like
Yeah,
the
like they're the same detachment, they just lean different ways.
yeah
Yeah.
And aspect lets you just have the threat of, oh yeah, I'm gonna do elf shenanigans. Also, I can just punch you in the face whenever I want.
yeah
I've
Warhost just
been,
goes, I'm gonna elf shenanigans on my elf shenanigans and
yeah,
do elf shenanigans on the side.
which is why I've loved it, but Warhost has some very bad matchups. Anything that has consistent defense or decent defense that can run up the board in a turn or two, you do not have the consistent firepower to stop them.
yeah. No, I mean, I'm like thinking about this into the list that I took to LVO, and I'm like,
Oof.
okay, so maybe the fire dragons kill like the Tesseract Vault, maybe again like
Maybe.
maybe because I mean I've seen 10 fire dragons bounce off of like again something like Angron, which only has he has far fewer wounds than a Tesseract Vault with, and
I,
but
I mean, I one shot Mortarion, but then I left a Telemon on one wound, so it's like,
yeah, but not
Yeah, Meltas and 4-ups be swingy.
yeah.
exactly, and then okay, so maybe they do that, and then all their fire dragons are dead, and they still have to deal with like the Silent King. So what do you
And
do?
the plane.
And the planes. I mean, but just the Silent King, like Dark Reapers might get lucky ish, but probably not.
No, they don't have enough firepower to deal enough significant damage to the Silent King to be able to bring him down.
Yeah. So I
The
mean,
Dark Reapers just go after the planes.
Yeah, probably.
probably they go, but I mean, the Silent King will then just be like, well, I'm out here in the middle, and you're not doing anything about it, and that's it. I mean,
Yeah, but then you can dance around him and kind of ignore him in the middle and go to the back and take their home.
nah, because
No, I agree with you. It
yeah,
is a bad matchup.
it's a
Yeah.
very like I was just providing it as an example for your point about durability being a problem.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can think of ways to fight your list, but mostly because I've played into your list so many times. That doesn't mean that my ideas will work. I see what you could do, and even then, it's rough.
Honestly, what I would do is I would just be like, I'm gonna put my reanimator out, and I hope you send fire dragons after it, because the fire dragons probably won't kill it.
No.
Because it's I can give it the 4-up invul, and it has a 4-up feel no pain. So even if I fail like 3 Melta shots, it still might not die.
Honestly, I don't think Warhost could even handle like Tyranids, big bug Tyranids. Mm-mm.
It's I think well, I mean
Or triple Custodes Wardens, and you would just
Oh,
go, oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
fire dragons aren't good at that.
no, or Horde, like a bunch of boys,
Well, there's
like Tactical Brigade. I don't think
I mean
you
that's
lose by numbers.
I mean, Azerman chunks through them, and like everything has a shuriken cannon.
yeah. I actually don't know that like I think that tactical brigade maybe it depends. I think that my particular list of like the 3 Wraith Lords, they just laugh at Orc AP. They're just not killing the Wraith Lords very efficiently at
Probably.
all. And then, if you have your Wraith Guard, like they're just mulching orcs. I mean, because outside of the Wa turn, they're just not getting a save, and
Yeah, but that's the problem. A good WA will just delete all three of our lists, very likely.
no,
I think a well-placed WA will cripple most of these lists.
not
That's
not
why you do screening and move blocks, and that's what all the rangers
yeah.
and
Yeah,
other garbage is for. Like, an elf list needs its garbage. You
yeah,
can't
I
go
agree.
pure elite. You need
Ah,
You need to
you
be a
need.
bit of the trash man.
And like that, they're gonna actually have some trouble with the wave serpents. And so if you just have everybody inside the wave serpent, then like maybe they'll be able to do crack one, and then the second unit will pile in and kill what's inside. But like they're not necessarily going to be doing that consistently.
That's true.
And again, I mean, they don't have the AP to kill Wraith Lords. They just don't.
That's true. But what about the guard matchup? What do you think of that one?
Well, they don't.
You cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's a tough one. And
Yeah.
you know,
But it's tough for everyone.
it is tough for almost everyone.
But that's why you take as many transports as you can. Like, I don't think you can reasonably play in a meta with guard without 3 transports in this detachment, at least.
Yeah.
Actually, I think most of them you need at least 1 or 2 transports.
Oh no, I mean wave serpents in and of themselves. I mean, there's debate about whether or not you can take use wave serpents reasonably in Inari, but even if you can't, you have other transports that you can take that are good.
Honestly, and Inari, we'll leave that for later, but I don't think the Wave Serpent is the most cost efficient for Inari.
Debatable, but regardless.
I'd still run one, but yeah.
Yeah, regardless.
The Wave Serpent is actually durable against shooting, at least, so it's fantastic to be able to just say, yes, I don't die to just bolters.
And I mean, I've had situations where like 3 exalted 8-bound like don't fully kill it. They left it on like 3 wounds or something, because between the -1 to wound, and in this particular case he was like, oh well, it can't be that hard to kill. They're going to be unsupported, so they don't he didn't have like 8-bound or anger on rerolls. It was just 3 exalted 8-bound. It's like, okay,
The -1 to wound is ranged only.
oh no, okay, I messed that up.
That's fine. You're just learning to practice it.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
yeah,
was
like your first few games, no matter what detachment you do, like
you're gonna mess up rules.
this is a complex codex. There's a million things going on.
It is very deep,
and it's for people with bigger brains than me.
Okay. Well, regardless, even if you don't have the -1 wound, you still have a 5-up invul, and you have 13 wounds as opposed to 12 wounds, which does make a difference.
13 wounds
So
is such
nice.
a weird point, and I love it.
So many things that, like, my max damage is 12. It's like, yeah.
Okay.
So I want 1.
Yeah, or,
nice Duran effects.
Yep. Or, I mean, like, Doomsday Arcs, where it's like, I have to fail not 3 saves, but 4 saves. And the likelihood of that, if it's just a single Doomsday Arc, is actually fairly low. I mean, they have to roll really well in their shots. They have to, if they don't have rerolls, then they have to like roll really well. I mean, obviously if they have the dev wounds, but like if you've left your Wave Serpent where they can shoot at it without moving, then you are making a mistake.
Yeah. I mean, my game, the first game I played with this list was into Death Guard. My Wave Serpents lived the whole game.
Yeah.
Because I did not push them out once. I just used them to stage, shoot, hide, and Death Guard just can't handle the speed.
Yeah. No, it's super good. And the fact that you can put the Wraith Guard in there are some matchups where that's actually really good. Where I actually think that Guard would be one of those where they're not pushing onto your like objectives per se with like melee, so you could potentially leave something else there, but being able to shove a bunch of Wraithguard in their face is very nice. The Wraithguard can then get back in. They will probably survive getting shot at depending on what's shooting at them. And then, yeah, I don't know. It's fun. I really like this book. I think that GW
Wonderful codex.
Yeah, GW has had a hard time making like glass cannons, but this is like the perfect glass cannon.
Yeah. And I like that it's not unga bunga. Like you have to actually use a brain cell.
Yeah.
I mean, there's extremes. Like Warhost is probably the most user friendly, and then you have the other extreme, which is Harlequins, which
I think Aspect is the easiest. I think Aspect is easier than Warhost.
Okay. I haven't tried Aspect enough to say that.
Just
Warhost just felt very user friendly
just because it's
because of the.
like you get rerolls to hit or wound. I mean, so you can kind of turn your brain off of like I'm gonna go kill stuff.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, like you build around. All right, you have Azerman, and then you have the reroll hit and wounds 1 brick for Dark Reapers, and then mission play, and you just blow stuff up.
Yep, it's very straightforward. But even then, you have to play it right to actually win. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Like everything in this codex, with the exception of a couple Wraith units, will die to 5 intercessors shooting you.
yeah.
That's true.
Almost everything will be crippled by 5 freaking like assault intercessors shooting at you with bolt pistols. Like
Yeah.
you do not have room to screw up a lot.
No. Things will die very quickly and very easily.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which
No,
is
for
great.
sure.
I think
Yeah.
it's fun for everybody because like even if they lose, they're gonna kill a lot of elves along the way.
Yeah, and
Just,
a
your
lot of
list
people
is
like
going to have a lot of cheap trash.
Yeah.
Well,
And the other thing is that, sorry, one last thing is,
Yep.
especially with Warhost, most data sheets have play.
yeah. No,
Like
absolutely.
I can think of maybe 3 data sheets, most of them being planes, that are just like meh.
Yeah. No, I think yes, outside of the planes, everything if it's bad, it's probably just because it's like not
In the
costed
wrong detachment.
correctly. Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to actually discuss all of the detachments like this once we've gotten. I mean, we're getting reps into different ones, and some might take longer than others. But we will get there because we're all having a great time. And so please come back for those. And until then, thank you guys very much for joining me.
You're very welcome.
No problem. It's been fun.
All
It's
right.
been great.
See ya.